Welcome to Rouse's Fly Box. Today we're going to tie an old standby. This pattern is tied in a 1,000 different variations. And if you're anywhere where there are small golden stoneflies, the yellow Sally is a staple in most everybody's box. I'll go over how I tie the version I fish here. I start off with a size 18 bent shank nymph hook. This is an Orvis hook and a gold tungsten bead. Start out with brown 6/0 tying thread. I start my thread, form a base about halfway back. Then right in front of that thread, I'm going to start some 15/0 lead wire. Put about 5 wraps. And then seat that wire behind the head. And then bring my thread back forward. Bind it down. Build a little dam behind it. And then bring my thread back to about 1/3 of the way into the bend of the hook. And then back up. Next I'm going to tie on my wire. I use fine gold wire. I tie it in right behind the lead, help with the transition of the body. And I'll bring that back into the bend of the hook as well. And then stow that in the keeper. Next material I'm going to tie in is yellow dyed pheasant tail. I'm going to take a section of about 6 or 8 fibers. I want it to be fairly bulky, keeping the tips just naturally aligned. And I'm going to take the tail is going to be about half the length of the body, and I'll start it. Bring my thread back to the back, miss a step. I'm going to tie it with the tail about half the length of the body. I won't tie it at the tie-in point. I'm going to tie it ahead and wrap it back into the bend so that it splays slightly. Then I'm going to take my butt ends and wrap back to the same point, and then bind down over those fibers and bring my thread up to the lead. Next I'm going to bring my body fibers forward. I let them flatten out, and I wrap them by hand. And they'll give you a natural taper as well. I like the dyed pheasant tail because it gives you a little bit of a mottled look while still carrying the color that I'm looking for, that golden yellow. And then when I bring it up behind the lead or the head, I'm going to tie it off. I'm not too worried about things at that point because I'm going to overwrap that. I'm only going to actually use that body material for the thorax or for the abdomen. Then I'm going to bring my wire in the opposite direction, and I'm going to palmer my wire forward, spaced evenly. It's a very simple pattern, not a lot of moving parts, very easily to replicate. And secure my wire and cut it off. Next I'm going to tie in my feather. I use yellow dyed Brahma hen, and I prepare it by sweeping it to the rear from the tip and then trimming my tip off. And I'm going to tie it in tip first. Like I said, with the curve of the feather up. I want the curve of the feather up, keeping it centered on the hook. It wants to rotate on me there. So I trapped a couple fibers. Sweep my fibers back and get it in place. Then next, I'm going to take a very small portion of olive ice dub. Not very much at all, because you already have the bead. But what you want this for mainly is the way it's going to come through when you finish your wing case. You want that ice dub shine. Just a little bit more behind the bead. And then you're going to pull that yellow Brahma forward, keeping it centered. What I like to do is sweep as many as I can back. I don't mind trapping a few fibers, but get a little bit of a separation. Hold it still on the bead and then tie down behind the bead, keeping that hackle on top. It looks like I trapped a couple there. That's the case before you anchor it very hard. What I did, I used my bodkin, I pick it out. And then trim your butt. And give a few extra wraps to secure it. And it would finish behind your bead. And for your wing case, for two reasons. One, you want your wing case to be prominent on this pattern. But two, that's a fairly fragile hackle. But I don't want another material on there. So what I do, got a flyer of a ice dub there. What I do is put just a little dab of Bug Bond, one little drop, right on top of that hackle and right behind the bead, and hit it with your light. You want to make sure, like I did, that you have your fibers, your hackle fibers, pulled to the sides. You don't have one just sticking straight up. You don't want to trap that in the Bug Bond. And there it is. Yellow Sally. Very easy version to tie. Very productive for me. It's pretty much the only Yellow Sally nymph that I tie and fish. I hope it adds to your box. Good luck. See you on the water.